enjoy the gems of modern Indian literature, please press the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. Premchand belonged to the progressive movement. But to understand the essence of Kafan, one has to pay a visit to the Communist Manifesto, where it clearly says that the lumpen proletariat is a dangerous class of social scum. Unlike the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, as a class, the lumpen proletariat is generally unemployable and makes no positive contribution to the economy. It is generally seen that in the name of revolution, they are the first to come forward, appear the most radical, project themselves as the most exploited, but they are also the first to desert and switch alliances. The lumpen elements, according to Marx, have no progressive role to play in the class struggle. Mao Zedong argued that with the right educational camps, the lumpen proletariat could be organized into armed groups and could be used as fodder to achieve their communist goals. All it needs is a right leader. In 1924, Russian author Mikhail Bulgakov wrote a story called The Fatal X, which became extremely popular and was seen critical of the Soviet leadership and a mockery of the Russian Revolution. The hero, a zoologist, Professor Persikov, who had a close similarity to Lenin both in appearance, character, as well as in name, accidentally discovers that a strange red ray, when focused on living creatures, radically accelerated their growth. This news spread like wildfire across the nation. As luck would have it, Russia is hit by a terrible plague which wipes out all its chicken population. The government, driven by media-initiated hysteria, seals the borders and seizes the invention. To save the people from sickness and starvation, they decide to import chicken eggs and use this scientific marvel on them to produce giant chickens, which they can then harvest to feed the nation. But by a strange twist of fate, the eggs get switched with reptilian eggs. And as they focus the red beam on the eggs, the consequences are disastrous, as malevolent mutations of aggressive snakes and crocodiles terrorize the country. The professor is killed by the mob, which blames him for this catastrophe. The Red Army tries to hold the snakes back, but almost faces utter destruction, only to be saved by the extreme winter of Russia, which kills the tropical reptiles. Naturally, the eggs in this case symbolize the lumpen proletariat and Lenin's misguided attempt to radically transform mankind through social engineering and scientific revolution. Another novel, Heart of a Dog, by Mikhail Bulgakov, published in 1925, describes Sharikov, a product of advanced Soviet engineering that predicted the arrival of a new type of Superman, a Homo Sovieticus. The story revolves around Professor Preobrazhensky, a liberal bourgeois by taste and style, and his prodigy, Dr. Bormenthal, a disciplined man with strong proletariat instincts. Both conduct scientific experiments where one could transform the lower class into advanced humans capable of ushering the ultimate communist utopia. They find a dead man on whom to conduct their experiment. It so happens that this dead man, Klim Shugunkin, turns out to be a thief, an alcoholic, a bully and a liar who gets himself killed in a drunken brawl. The word Shugunkin means cast iron, which is seen as a parody to the name Stalin, which means steel. Shugunkin's pituitary glands and testicles are inserted into an obedient and loving street dog. The experiment is successful, and the professor is overjoyed to see the dog transform into a human. But that is where all hell breaks loose. Instead of an obedient, disciplined, and morally upright Homo Sovieticus, the ultimate citizen, Shugunkin, or Sharikov as he is now called, starts showing off all his lumpen characteristics. Fearing that the professor may abandon him, Sharikov befriends a union leader Schwander and joins the party. He is now a card-holding cadet, and the professor cannot do much against him. Further, Sharikov, in his attempt to gain power, ideologically interpolates himself into the state apparatus and starts attending council meetings. But things don't end there. Sharikov not only cheats Schwander, the union leader, but in his ultimate move, he also denounces his creator to the Soviet secret police, the Cheka, as counter-revolutionary. The story foreshadows a future showdown between the morally upright Bermenthals and the lumpen Shuginkins in Stalin's mock trials, where the Shuginkins accuse all the Bermenthals of treachery. Godan was Premchand's last novel, where he introduces us to the strives and struggles of hard-working people like Hori, Gobar and Dhania. But as he wrote his masterpiece, the elements that he left out became his last short story, Kafan, where he introduces us to good-for-nothing father-son duo of Ghiso and Madhav. Here Premchand gives us a veiled warning that we need to be aware where our sympathy should lie and who is worthy of our compassion. All night long, Budhya screamed in agonizing labor pains, while Ghisu, her father-in-law, and Madhav, her husband, sat outside the hut and ate roasted potatoes that they had stolen from the nearby farm. They did not have any money to call for a nurse, so they sat and they waited. Here Premchand describes the lumpenness of Ghisu and Madhav. Ghisu ने कहा, मालूम होता है बचेगी नहीं, सारा दिन दौड़ते ही गया, जरा देख के तो वाह। माधव चिढ़कर बोला, मरना ही है तो जल्दी क्यों नहीं मर जाती, देख कर क्या करूं? तू बड़ा बेदर्द है बे, साल भर जिसके साथ सुख चैन से रहा, उसी के साथ इतनी बेवफाई। तो मुझसे उसका तड़पना और हाथ पांव पटकना नहीं देखा जाता, माधव बोला। दलितों का कुनबा था और सारे गांव में बदनाम। घीसू एक दिन काम करता तो 3 दिन आराम करता। माधव इतना कामचोर था कि आधे घंटे काम करता तो घंटा भर चिलम पीता। इसलिए उन्हें कहीं मजदूरी नहीं मिलती थी। घर में मुट्ठी भर अनाज भी मौजूद हो तो उनके लिए काम करने की कसम थी। जब 2-4 फाके हो जाते तो घीसू पेड़ पर चढ़कर लकड़ियां तोड़ लाता और माधव बाजार में बेच आता। जब तक वे पैसे रहते दोनों इधर उधर मारे मारे फिरते। गांव में काम की कमी न थी। किसानों का गांव था, मेहनती आदमी के लिए काम ही काम था। Unperturbed by the troubles of the world, they lived their life digging potatoes and pulling sugar canes from nearby farms. Khisu's wife had died long ago, and the arrival of Budhya in their lives was a blessing. She had taken over the workings of the entire household and even brought some respectability to their lives. But now, as she lay in pain, all they did was wait for her to die so that they could go to sleep. Khisu asked Madhav to go inside the hut and check on his wife. But Madhav refused to go for fear that if he left, Khisu would eat away a large portion of the potatoes. Khisu ने आलू छीलते हुए कहा, जाकर देख तो क्या दशा है उसकी। चुड़ैल का फिसाद होगा और क्या, यहाँ तो ओझा भी 1 रुपये मांगता है। माधव को भय था कि कोठरी में गया तो घीसू आलू का एक बड़ा भाग साफ कर देगा। बोला, मुझे वहाँ जाते डर लगता है। डर किस बात का है, मैं तो यहीं हूँ। तो तुम ही जाकर देख लो ना। In the morning, Madhav went inside the hut and saw that his wife had died without delivering the baby. Dumbfounded, he ran to his father and informed him. Soon they both started beating their chest and crying out aloud. The neighbors felt sorry for their loss, paid their respects to the dead, and asked them to arrange for the funeral. But funeral meant expenses. So they went to the zamindar, who absolutely abhorred them, but took pity on their plight and gave them some money. Ghisu was certain that if the zamindar gave them money, the other people would definitely chip in. Soon they had collected enough and they went to the market to buy a shroud. बाजार में पहुंचकर घीसू बोला, लकड़ी तो उसे जलाने भर की मिल गई है, क्यों माधव? माधव बोला, हाँ, लकड़ी तो बहुत है, अब कफन चाहिए। तो चलो कोई हल्का सा कफन ले ले, घीसू बोला। हाँ और क्या, लाश उठते उठते रात हो जाएगी, रात को कफन कौन देखता है? कैसा बुरा रिवाज है कि जिसे जीते जी तन ढांकने को चीथड़ा भी ना मिले, उसे मरने पर नया कफन चाहिए, घीसू बोला। कफन लाश के साथ जल ही तो जाता है, माधव बोला। क्या रखा रहता है, यही 5 रुपए पहले मिलते तो कुछ दवा दारू कर लेते। Both Ghisu and Madhav were trying to probe each other. And as they searched for a cheap shroud in the market, they inevitably found themselves standing outside a liquor shop. And quietly, without a word, they both walked in. Soon they were in envy of all the drunkards, because they had a whole bottle of liquor and a plate of fried fish to eat. Having blown away all the money on liquor and fish, Madhav wondered what he would tell the villagers when they returned back without the shroud. घीसू बोला, कफन लगाने से क्या मिलता, आखिर जली तो जाता, कुछ बहू के साथ तो न जाता। माधव आसमान की तरफ देखकर बोला, मानो देवताओं को अपनी निष्पापता का साक्षी बना रहा हो। दुनिया का दस्तूर है, नहीं तो लोग ब्राह्मणों को हजारों रुपए क्यों देते? कौन देखता है परलोक में मिलता है या नहीं? बड़े आदमियों के पास धन है, फूके, हमारे पास फूकने को कहाँ है? लेकिन लोगों को क्या जवाब देंगे? लोग पूछेंगे नहीं कफन कहाँ है? घीसू हंसा, अबे कह देंगे रुपए कमर से खिसक गए, बहुत ढूंढा नहीं मिले। लोगों को विश्वास नहीं आएगा, लेकिन फिर वही रुपए देंगे। Ghisu ordered for food and they had their fill. Liquor had now started working upon Madhav, and he started feeling sorry for his wife. And he wondered what he would tell her when she would ask him in heaven, why was she not given a shroud? Ghisu assures Madhav that Budhya will definitely get a shroud. The very same people who had given them money would now provide for it. माधव बोला, क्यों दादा, हम लोग भी एक ना एक दिन वहां जाएंगे ही। घीसू ने इस भोले भाले सवाल का कोई उत्तर ना दिया। वो परलोक की बातें सोचकर इस आनंद में बाधा ना डालना चाहता था। जो वहां हम लोगों से पूछे कि तुमने हमें कफन क्यों नहीं दिया, तो क्या कहेंगे? कहेंगे तुम्हारा सर। पूछेगी तो जरूर। तू कैसे जानता है कि उसे कफन ना मिलेगा? तू मुझे ऐसा गधा समझता है? 60 साल क्या दुनिया में घास खोदता रहा हूं? उसको कफन मिलेगा और बहुत अच्छा मिलेगा। माधव को विश्वास ना आया। बोला, कौन देगा? रुपए तो तुमने चाट कर दिए। वो तो मुझसे पूछेगी, उसकी मांग में तो सिंदूर मैंने डाला था। घीसू गर्म होकर बोला, मैं कहता हूं उसे कफन मिलेगा, तू मानता क्यों नहीं? कौन देगा, बताता क्यों नहीं? वही लोग देंगे जिन्होंने अब की बार दिया। हाँ, अब की रुपए हमारे हाथ ना आएंगे। Madhav looks up at the sky and reiterates that she will definitely go to heaven and starts sobbing uncontrollably. Ghisu consoles him and the liquor once again starts playing its tricks. Ghisu ने समझाया, क्यों रोता है बेटा? खुश हो, वो माया जाल से मुक्त हो गई, जंजाल से छूट गई। बड़ी भाग्यवान थी, इतनी जल्दी मोह माया के बंधन तोड़ दिए। और वो दोनों खड़े होकर गाने लगे, ठगनी क्यों नैना झमकावे, ठगनी क्यों नैना झमकावे। पियक्कड़ों की आंखें इनकी ओर लगी हुई थीं और वे दोनों अपने दिल में मस्त गाए जाते थे। फिर दोनों नाचने लगे, उछले भी, कूदे भी, गिरे भी, मटके भी, भाव भी बनाए, अभिनय भी किए और आखिर नशे में मदमस्त होकर वहीं गिर पड़े। दिस इज कफन बाय प्रेमचंद। Read it to enjoy it more. Till then, see you.